Some stories aren't told by a narrator or a witness. Sometimes the story is told by the documents they leave behind. And today, we're digging into one of those, a story pieced together bit by bit from a file that was never meant for the public eye.
What's so wild about this one is that it's built entirely from official records. We're literally going to walk through a real unsolved mystery using the exact same documents that the detectives, the medical examiners, and yeah, even the online sleuths have been looking at.
So, what was actually in this file? What made it so important that someone would go through the trouble of getting it and putting it online for everyone to see?
Well, it contained the entire investigation into a John Doe, a man found without a name. We're about to follow the paper trail, right from the very first frantic 911 call all the way to where the case stands today. Let's get into it.
Okay, so our story starts on a pretty typical day on the Seattle waterfront, but it kicks off with a call to the police that is anything but typical. It says there is a clearly deceased body in the water up against the rocks. That's it. That's the first entry in the police dispatch log from March 25th, 2023. It's blunt, it's stark, and it sets everything that's about to happen into motion. This right here is the exact moment our John Doe officially becomes a police record. So this document, the computer-aided dispatch report, it's like a play-by-play of how that whole evening went down. At 5:38 p.m., the call comes in. Just 7 minutes later, police are on their way. By 6:01, they've confirmed it's a DOA, dead on arrival. And you can see how quickly things escalate. Media shows up, then the ME, and by 7:11, the body is out of the water. The investigation is on.
And then the police report fills in a really human detail, a crucial part of the story. It turns out the body was found by 3 teenagers. They were just, exploring under the pier, climbing around on the rocks, when they stumbled upon what they thought were human remains. And they were the ones who made that urgent call.
Okay, so you have this tragic discovery. But how in the world do you start building an identity from nothing? No name, no wallet, nothing.
The very first thing they have to do, and it sounds kind of cold, but it's just procedure, is give him a name. Since there's no ID, he's given the official placeholder, John Doe. Right there, he's no longer just a discovery, he's a case. He's a number in the system.
This is where the forensics team from the King County Medical Examiner's Office steps in, and they start to paint a picture. The first real clues we have. He was an older man, maybe in his 60s or 70s, on the shorter side, about 5'4", and his body told a story. He had serious arthritis in his back, and at some point in his life, he'd broken his nose. These small details are all they have to go on.
So you've got this profile. What do you do with it? Well, it gets uploaded to this really crucial national database called NamUs. You can think of it like a nationwide bulletin board for the lost, trying to connect unidentified people with missing persons reports from all over the country. It's an absolutely vital tool.
And just like that, he gets a new identity. Not a name, but a number. NamUs case number UP102628. This string of numbers now becomes the public key to his entire case, for law enforcement, for you, for anyone trying to figure out who he was.
Okay, so now we get to the real detective work. They've got a profile, and now the search for a name begins in earnest. They have to start following any and every lead they can find.
And you can see from Detective Ivey's follow-up report, this isn't guesswork. It's a methodical, step-by-step process. They've done the medical exam, they've notified local police, they've created the NamUs profile. Now comes the hard science. They start comparing dental records against missing people, and they submit for DNA analysis. This stuff takes time.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the public starts to get involved. You've got folks on these true crime forums, like Websleuths, who are just incredible researchers. One user finds a missing person from nearby Kent, Washington, and the description looks really promising. But, and this is the tough part of these investigations, forensics don't lie. The detective's report is clear. They compared the dental records, and it wasn't a match. Another dead end.
Right, so this is the point where the whole story just flips on its head. The official investigation is kind of hitting a wall, right? But then the case files themselves become the new lead. It's pretty amazing. And it all comes from this public records request. The person who filed it wrote this, and it really gets to the heart of the citizen detective movement. They say, as a hobby, I research unidentified decedent cases and will attempt to use information released in an attempt to generate leads. Their goal is simple. Get the facts out there and see if it shakes something loose.
And bam, there it is.
That same investigator, who goes by Robbie Dell online, posts on Websleuth. They announce that they filed the request, they got the files, and now they've uploaded them to the Internet Archive for everyone to see. In that moment, a cold case file becomes a global, open-source mystery.
So what's actually in this file? Well, it's the whole shebang. We're talking the dispatch log, the first officer's report, the detective's detailed follow-up, even the packet for the FBI's crime database. It also includes a redaction log, which explains why certain things, like graphic photos, were held back. Basically, these documents are the source for everything we're talking about right now.
So after all that, after the official police work and after the public has pored over these very files, where does that leave the John Doe of Pier 66?
You know, the detective's report ends with this one sentence, dated about 6 months after the body was found, and it really hits you. There are currently no further investigative leads for this case. I recommend it be placed in an inactive status pending further information. It's the official moment the case goes cold.
And that's pretty much where we are today. Despite all the police work, despite the incredible efforts of online communities, the man's name is still a mystery. He is still, to the world, just case number UP102628.
It just makes you think, doesn't it? This entire detailed human story was pieced together just because one person decided to ask for the files. It really makes you wonder, how many other John and Jane Does are out there, their stories just sitting in a file cabinet, waiting for someone to ask?
And even though the case is officially inactive, that doesn't mean it's over. Not really. A single tip, a new technology, a distant relative, that could change everything. The agencies are still there, the case numbers are still open. This man was somebody, and his story's still waiting for its last chapter.